Hello and welcome back to Columbus for our coverage of Origins 2017. I'm Eric Summerer. I'm here with Brady Sadler. You are a game designer with two games from different publishers.
Yep.
And you're talking about them both. Let's start with the little one first.
Okay, little one first. So my brother and I, my design partner Adam, we designed a small game called Awful Fantasy, the card game, and this funded on Kickstarter last year.
Okay,
and
let's bring that box over here so we can see it a little better.
This is a prototype box, but it's hitting retail next month actually, so you'll see the real thing.
Okay.
So this is like a light set collection game where it's based in this Awful Fantasy IP, which is a pretty popular Twitter feed ran by our friends. And you're trying to collect a story which is made up of fantasy cards, and you want to get a event, or you want to get like a plot, you want to get a protagonist, and you want to get an antagonist. So you want to collect a set, and they're all pretty silly themes of all these different characters, and those are collected by using awful cards.
Okay.
So, and then you also play as crazy versions of real life artists like George R. U. Farton and Carrie Brooks, which is Terry Brooks. All kinds of funny puns, you know.
Okay.
So this is hitting retail next month. It's successfully funded, and I wanted to mention it because right now on Kickstarter we have a follow-up game with the same publisher, which is based on mine and Adam's popular Warhammer Quest, the adventure card game.
Okay.
And that's called Epic AF, which is Epic Awful Fantasy, but it's funnier if you're shorting it.
Okay. That's a rule of comedy I was not aware of.
Yeah. So that's on Kickstarter right now. It's for the next month. We're seeking funding for it, and plays the same as Warhammer Quest, the adventure card game, and it's actually compatible if you sleeve the cards.
Okay.
So yeah, that's available now, and then this is going to be available next month retail.
All right, Awful Fantasy, the card game.
Yep.
All right, next up. We have a fighting game.
Yes, we have a cooperative miniatures fighting game.
Okay.
It's based on an original IP, which is highly inspired by Street Fighter, Tekken, all these popular.
Yeah, if we're looking
fighters.
at these are pretty common archetypes that you see in fighting games.
Yep.
These guys look a little familiar, at least stylistically.
Yeah, okay. Definitely.
So what sort of gameplay are we looking at?
So it's, like I said, it's fully cooperative. So there's two modes of play. There's arcade mode and there's story mode, and they both play very similarly. They're both inspired by arcade mode. Arcade mode is you're going to pick a fighter. Each player's going to be a fighter. They have their own unique decks. You're going to pick an enemy, which has a boss card and an enemy deck that has all his minions and all of his events and all his gear and everything in there.
Okay.
And then you're going to pick a stage, which determines the map tile you use, plus the stage deck. And the stage deck functions like its own little character over there. It's got all these events that go on. It's got objectives that come out. And the whole point of the game is for us to defeat the boss before he completes his objectives. So he's going to go around doing, and those are always different per whatever stage you play. For example, this stage is called Gone Ballistic, and the boss is trying to collect a bunch of weapon boxes and get out of the board. So if he collects too many, you lose. But you can also pick them up yourself and do more damage with them.
Okay.
So
all right.
So the gameplay is pretty simple. It plays a lot like Sentinels of the Multiverse in a way. The product model's kind of set up the same way because it's a fixed deck modular game.
Okay.
But it's got dice, obviously. It's got miniatures.
Yep.
So everyone's going to have their hand of cards, and they're going to be attack cards, tactic cards that go into play. They give you more options, kind of boost your character up, and ability cards that give you all kinds of different crazy abilities. So on your turn, you're just going to do your threat phase, which is drawing an enemy card, putting it into play in your threat area. Usually it's going to be a minion, which spawns on the board. So you put them at the nearest entry space. And they'll also have defense tokens that kind of mess with how you interact with them. And then you're going to move around, you're going to play cards to attack them and defeat them. And you want to work your way toward the boss and take him out, because the boss has always got a lot higher health, and his minions pile up. So you got to kind of balance doing damage to the boss and taking out his minions at the same time.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent. I missed the name.
Oh,
What's
sorry.
this
Yeah,
called?
I should probably mention the name.
Yes.
So it's called Street Masters: Rise of the Kingdom, and it's actually on Kickstarter right now. It's seeking funding. It's actually funded. We're just getting some more stretch goals right now. It's got about, I think, 8 more days left.
Okay.
So it's
and these are the final dice that you're going to be using?
Icons changed a little bit, but they're somewhat similar. We changed some of the
they're quite
defense
shiny.
icons. Yeah, they're pretty nicely done. And
Excellent.
all these miniatures, these are prototypes, but they're pretty similar to what they're going to be. They're just the resin versions right now. So
if people want to find out more information about either of these games, where do they go?
So this Blacklist Games is a website. I believe it's blacklistgames.com.
Okay.
We're going to have to Google that. I'll double check the site. But it's also on Kickstarter right now. You can just search for Street Masters: Rise of the Kingdom.
Okay.
Awful Fantasy can be found on Twitter and Facebook. Their handle is Awful Fantasy. They have a lot of followers. They're pretty easy to find. And this game should be in retail. This should be, once it's funded, it should be hitting retail probably early in next year.
All right, Brady, thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching.